Greetings, EastEnders fans, and welcome to another episode of Albert Square After Dark, your weekly EastEnders podcast. This week, discussing the episodes broadcast between the 16th and the 19th of September 2024. Hello there. How are you this week? Are you well? I hope you are. Yes, you're looking good. Looking good. I like that colour on you. Hello, Ree. How are you this week?
I'm good, thank you, Rob. How are you? And most importantly,
Yes.
how is Monroe,
Right.
your dog?
So, my dog, Monroe, okay, he had to have a bit of surgery this week. Nothing serious or anything, but he had to have a few
Okay,
like
good.
lumps and bumps removed. He had like a bit of a
Okay.
gathering of fat on his shoulder, which looks a lot scarier than it is, but it's quite like a sort of protuberance kind of coming out of his legs. We had to get that kind of taken off, and he had another little sort of moles and bumps that they wanted to sort of sort him out. So take him to the theatre. Take him to the theatre. Yeah, took him to see a show. He went into theatre,
Cats.
and yes, he fortunately was let out the same day, because if he'd been kept in
Oh,
overnight, I would have been a mess. I would have been. I don't know how like parents do this with actual children. Like, it was devastating. I was so
mm.
heartbroken because he sort of came in. We managed to get him home, and he's sort of just like lying on the sofa, completely zoned out from the anesthetic,
Oh.
just sort of moaning and whining and all that kind of thing, can barely move, his tongue hanging out slightly because he was just still so zoned out. He's a lot better now the anesthetic's worn off, and he's got to wear this vest to cover up all his stitches. It's like a baby grow.
Oh.
It's so cute, but
Oh.
he's not happy at all. So he's in a mood with us for putting him through all that hell, even though it's for his own good. They don't even know that, pets, do they?
They don't understand that you can't
No.
reason with him. No.
No, exactly.
But he's
So
on the mend, though.
he's on the
That's what's
mend. So
important. Good, good.
all is well with my dog. So
Oh.
that's okay. Which is fine, because I couldn't have coped with two terrible exits from my life this week.
Two terrible losses this week. No,
I
definitely
know.
not.
Bobby's gone. Bye bye, Bobby. I'm very sad that Bobby's gone, I have to say.
But do you know what? I
What?
know we're going to get to it all.
We
I
will
thought it
get
was
to
a
it.
really good exit,
You liked
actually.
it?
The
You did like
week,
his exit?
yeah, I thought it was a
Okay.
really good exit. And by the end of it, I was like, yeah, I think you need to go now. Now you've explained it all. Yeah, probably
Yeah.
time for you to go. Even though at the start of the week, I was like, why
Yeah.
is he leaving? Why would
Yeah.
you go, Bobby?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I
Although
empathised.
there is a massive bone of contention, I
Oh,
think,
here we go.
amongst a few people about
Yeah.
the destruction of the Freddie and Bobby relationship, and
Yeah.
I have a feeling that you kind of the only people that were keeping Bobby around were Anna and Freddie. All right,
Mm,
yeah, his family great, but they were the people that
yeah.
keeping him in Walford. So if Claydon or Russell decides he wants to leave, the only way you're going to realistically get rid of Bobby is if you wreck the Freddie and Bobby relationship, isn't it? Really, because otherwise he was just going to stay. There wouldn't have been realistic for Bobby to want to leave otherwise.
I don't know. I think he could have still left without it, but also I think it made it feel more real that he'd
Yeah, it's a
had an
shame.
argument with Freddie. Plus, we had it happen months ago with Freddie and Anna, so it weren't that
No,
you know what I
wasn't out of the
mean?
blue, was it?
Out of the blue for it to happen again.
But
So,
hold your horses, Ree. We will get to that. We will get to
sorry.
all that. We will
We're
get to
jumping ahead
that.
here, aren't
We
we?
are jumped straight over a steeple there. We did. We've got a few other things to discuss first. We'll start off with the Panasars and possibly Suki's dumbest move yet. We will get to that and why. So let's crack on with this week's Albert Square After Dark. So let's crack on this week. We're talking about Vinnie's birthday and the Panasars in general. So Suki and Eve are planning a big surprise party for Vinnie.
Hmm.
Doesn't stay a surprise for very long. I'm not entirely sure how they thought this was going to work, because they had all this banning like planned, all these banners. One of which said he's not gay, but nobody's perfect, which was up there purely because it was being held in the gay bar. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
hey,
And Prince Albert, the
exactly.
Albert.
Nish is meanwhile kind of trying to talk to Vinny and ask him like what he wants for his birthday. I quite enjoyed him on the phone the day before Vinny's birthday. Just what do you want for your birthday? We've all done that. We've all had that conversation with our parents.
Yeah,
It does
we
happen.
have.
It does happen. A slightly odd moment where Nish then sees a car, and all this car is doing is driving around the square. Okay, but he gets suspicious about this car, calls somebody, and then discovers that it's an undercover police car and that they're on to the chicken shops. Had you forgotten about the chicken chops? Because I'd forgotten about the chicken chops.
Yeah, a little bit. But I'm thinking maybe we're led to believe that that's not the first time he's seen that car.
Maybe
Because we haven't
not.
seen
Yeah.
Nish for a while, have we?
No,
So
we
maybe he's
haven't.
spotted it a few times
And I tell
before.
you what, he's deteriorated ever so slightly. Did you not think? I think he's slow. Like
Oh no,
this,
I didn't notice
I
anything.
thought, I
No.
thought, I thought he was visibly sort of looking more like weary and sort of struggling. He looked like he was struggling to breathe a little bit more. Like he was sort of. He looked like this illness is starting.
Pained.
Yeah, but I mean, like it looked like this illness is starting to take effect on him slowly. Because this is a dying man, as we are reminded quite a lot this week.
Is
So.
he? Is he? No, I don't think he
He
is.
definitely is. I think we're past the point now. I
Didn't pay
think
off that
of
doctor to
no,
just, no, don't
no.
think. Okay.
Um, and well, also he's not getting any heart replaced transplants because I think there was a point where we believed that
Yeah.
Nish's plan was like to pull Vinny's heart out of his chest with his bare hands and put it in his
Yeah.
own or something
Yeah.
crazy like that. But
Yeah.
it seems I thought there was a bit of confusion here because Nish, at that moment, when he finds out that the chicken shops are like at risk of being sort of raided
Under
by the police,
surveillance.
yeah, sort of then decides to give it to Vinny as his
Hmm.
punishment for,
Yeah.
betraying him. But he's been talking about these big plans that he's got for Vinny for quite a few weeks now. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So when he was saying, I've got big plans, oh, I've got plans for you, do you think he'd made those plans yet?
No, I think he was just saying that. I don't know actually. What did he have planned for him? Did he have anything planned? Or were he just saying it to Vinny to get him off his
Yeah,
back whilst he was plotting
plotting.
what he was gonna do?
Did he always think that this day was going to come where the chicken shops were going to be at risk
Nah,
of
those
being
chicken
rinsed?
shops have been undercover for a while, haven't they? Well,
There,
not undercover, but you know what I mean. They've been safe for a while.
yeah.
So
Kentucky
it
Fried
does seem a
Cash.
bit, does seem a
Mm.
bit out of the blue, but
Well, so they are because obviously the chicken shops are a cover for money laundering.
yes,
What is
yeah.
money laundering exactly?
So from what I would understand is they
Sweet innocent
would
mind.
any dodgy money that they've got, they'll put
Right.
it through the chicken shop so that they're declaring the money still, so then they can actually put it in the bank account. But really, maybe it's whatever dodgy stuff they're up to selling drugs. Then they can be like, oh, yes, somebody bought 5 chicken nuggets, 6
hmm
chips. Yes, that's what that money's from. Put it through,
Right. So
I
at no
think.
point do they wrap like £5 notes in breadcrumbs or anything like that and stick it in a fryer.
No,
None of that happens. No, none of that
I
happens.
don't think that's what it is. And
Right.
maybe I'm wrong, but that's my understanding of money
Okay.
laundering. I think.
At
Yeah,
no
because that's
point.
why they're a front. That's why they call things a
Right.
front.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then it's like, oh yeah, it's a chicken shop.
Yeah. It's got
And
nothing to
really,
do.
they sell 2 chicken legs a week just to
Yeah.
make it look like they're a
Yeah.
chicken
Yeah.
shop. But really, all the money that's gone through is from something dodgy.
Right. And it's got nothing to do with washing machines or anything like that. It's money laundering
No.
thing. Nothing to do with that. Right. Okay.
Oh,
Got you.
maybe that's what money, washing the money,
Yes. That's what it means.
clean,
You're
making
cleaning the
it
money. Yeah.
clean,
Yeah.
cleaning.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
It was very helpful for Vinny to explain that at one point to me this week. I was like, right, got it, got it. Yeah, 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 yeah. So
Mhm.
Vinny discovers that this party is happening and decides that he wants his dad there because this is potentially going to be his last birthday with Nish alive. And he's never
Yeah,
had Nish there for a birthday before. Well, he kind of has because Nish has been there for about
last
2 years.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Nish
yeah.
has been here for about 2 years now. But I think what he means is
I know,
they've
but he
never
said I've
had
never
that,
had a beer with him on my
never had a beer
birthday
with
as
him on my
well.
birthday.
Yeah.
So I knew this was going to happen. By the way, I knew Vinny was going to be the first to break. Knew this was going to happen. I don't know what Suki was thinking, putting him in charge of this. Ridiculous.
No. Well, it's a weird one though, isn't it? Because I wasn't sure whether he were telling the truth, but Nish somehow realised that he was,
Yeah,
that he were being honest. And I went, how does
I think
Nish
he
know
was.
this?
I think
But
he. I think he was. I think in Vinny's mind, he was more than capable of separating the two
mm,
issues. Yes, we're going to rinse dad for every penny that he's got, but also, yes, I want my dad there for the last
he's my
birthday that
dad.
I could.
Yeah.
For he's the dad, and I potentially want him there. In
Mm,
Vinny's head, those two issues are run perfectly concurrently together. He can put them completely parallel to one another, and both issues will still work perfectly in
yeah.
Vinny's mind. This is the man who wants tried to wipe his fingerprints off of Spanner by wiping the piece of Spanner that he wasn't even holding. Remember that? That's Vinny. That's the Vinny we're
Yeah.
speaking
Bless
of.
him.
And Nish kind of has a brief change of heart at this moment. He's sort of like, "Oh, Vinny's softening. Oh, Nish, Vinny really wants me there. That's nice. So yeah,
Mm.
no, I'm not going to give you these chicken chops. I'll think of something else to sort of give you for your birthday." Because his plan
An
was
actual present, an actual
an
nice
actual
present.
present that's not going to
Yeah,
land you in prison. Because
yeah,
his original plan was to make this big grand gesture at the party and give him like these things to sign and say the chicken chops are
yeah.
all yours, son. Happy birthday. And Vinny was sort of basically sign his life away there and then. But he has this change of heart and kind of gets this pendant that apparently has kind of gone through the Panesar like male men, yeah. The kind of Panesar family history. And gives him
Panasamen.
that as
Yeah,
birthday. Yeah, and it's quite this. There's quite a nice pendant as well. It's just sort of
yeah,
like
yeah.
on chain, and it's all lovely.
Family heirloom.
Yes, and Vinny's quite touched by this at the party. Until Suki, this was a rare moment of Suki dumbness for me. Like this was silly. I thought because
Hmm.
she sat. I got what her thinking was like. Prove to me that you're not getting you're not falling off the rails here with this. Prove to me he's not getting inside your head and bin that. Now that could have happened at any point. All right, that could have happened at any point. Vinny throwing this thing in the bin. All right, didn't have to happen there and then when Nish was literally across the floor watching the
It
whole
was
thing.
dumb because normally Suki would be watching out a
Should
bit
be
more
on.
than
You
that.
should be on
Yeah,
that. Yeah. So I thought that was a
yeah.
bit careless, actually, the way that they did that,
I
because
know what you mean. And also, if I'm honest with you, I think Suki will be in a bit harsh because that is a
so do
family
I.
heirloom. So
Yeah.
if Vinny does want to keep a family heirloom, no matter what
Yeah.
he thinks about his dad, it's his right to decide
Yeah.
whether he wants to keep a bit of his family history.
Do you know what I think would have worked better there? Is
Mm.
because at first she turned around and went, "Well, I've never seen that before," implying that Nish had just made
Yeah,
made this
yeah,
whole thing up. And if she'd stuck with that, and Vinny had
yeah,
gone, "Oh
then
well, screw Dad then," and then would have chucked it in the bin,
yeah.
that would have been, I think, would have felt more convincing at that moment.
Mm.
But instead, he sort of basically just throws it in the bin really openly, and to the point where I almost felt a bit sorry for Nish at that moment because he was,
Same.
what, that's weird, isn't it? That's supposed to feel
I
sorry for
know.
Nish.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I genuinely felt a bit sorry for him at that moment because
Yeah,
he
I
was
did.
trying to actually. Because at that moment, he kind of thought there's at least one person that is giving me a bit of a crumb of sympathy. All right.
Mm.
Yes, Nishi's thinking is completely and utterly warped, and he has no sort of idea
Well,
about what he's done to his
mm.
family. But at that moment, he kind of thought his son loved him, and just to have
Do
his
you
heart thrown in the bin along with the pendant at that moment, he was devastated by that.
Do you agree with what Suki said about his intentions in giving it to Vinny? Because she was like, "Oh, he's just trying to control you," and for me, it felt like he was genuinely just trying to give his son a family heirloom. I didn't feel like he
I
was trying to control him personally,
I think a little
but
bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
okay, a bit
I
of
think there
both.
was some genuineness there. I
Mm,
really do. That kind of wanting to keep control over a situation is always there with Nish. No,
mm,
if he's giving someone a birthday present or he's asking for a cup of coffee, that level of control is always there.
mm,
So I think Suki probably did have a point with that, but I feel like Nish knows his final moments are coming, I think.
mm.
So I feel like that would have kind of come to the surface more than the
Yeah, that
controlling
was the
element.
priority rather than
Yeah.
the control side of things.
Yeah, because bear in mind, he'd changed his mind about the chicken chop thing at that point as well. He was just
Yeah,
like, "Do you know
exactly.
what?
That's
Actually,
why I thought it were a bit
yeah.
more genuine.
So
Yeah.
this is going to be a genuine moment. I'm going to give him this pendant that really means a lot to me."
Mm,
But that moment where Vinny chucks it in the bin turns everything on its head again. And by the end of the week, we've got Evil Nish back again, who is sitting there really smugly, really cheerfully, watching Vinny sign his life away as he signs the chicken shops over to him. And
mhm.
Vinny's screwed now, surely. So what happens from here?
I don't know because he's saying that Harty's going to still be doing everything and that Vinny's hands would be clean. And why do they all believe that? Well, Suki doesn't believe it though,
Suki
does
doesn't
she?
believe
She's
it.
very
No.
sus. She's like, why is he handing over the chicken shops? Because
Yeah.
in Suki's brain, I think she's thinking, why is he handing over the dodgy business to you, Vinny,
Yeah.
and not the ones that are actually
Yeah.
legit? Because they
Yeah.
have got legit ones, haven't they?
Yeah, they even got the minute mark.
So
You know, this
why
is
is
all
Vinny not questioning that as well?
because
Vinny's
he's
just like, I've
Vinny.
got the chicken
Because he's
shops.
Vinny.
I've got
Vinny's
the chicken
delighted.
shops.
This is Vinny. Of course he
Honestly,
isn't.
man.
The worst criminal on earth, and he's given them to Vinny.
Mm,
Even Vinny should be suspicious at that moment. But no,
yeah,
Vinny is just
no,
happy that he's finally got a bit of Panesar Empire to
yeah.
sort of lord over. Even if it's just the chicken shops, he's delighted with that because he's got a chain of chicken shops that are his and only
And he
his,
doesn't
and
have
he's
to
delighted about
touch,
that. No, and he's
supposedly.
delighted. No.
Yeah.
But obviously Harty has, been to this is the guy that was running the chicken shops at the moment. He's now got his hands clean of it because they're all Vinnie's. Harty's not even going to be involved in this now. Harty's probably on a plane somewhere to Dubai at this point. He's miles away. He's made a run for it. So Vinnie's now in sole ownership of these chicken shops, and the
But
police are onto them. So
so
next
why's
week,
Nish told him that Harty's still going to be doing stuff then if he's not going to be
because
there?
because Vinny's first question, to be fair, was, well, what about the money laundering side of things? Does that
Mm.
I don't want any involvement in that. I don't want my name to be associated with that. And Nish then turned around to him and, oh yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. That's Harty's job. You don't need to worry about that.
Mm.
So as far as Vinny's concerned, when he signed that, the money laundering thing, he might get some money out of it, but
So
it's
who's
all
going to
going to
be
be dealt
doing
with
the
Harty.
laundering?
Well, it doesn't matter because the police are basically onto it. So I would imagine next week Vinny
Right,
gets
okay.
arrested.
Oh, I've got you.
Because if you
Right,
remember,
okay. Yeah,
Harty
yeah,
throughout
yeah,
the
yeah.
week was sort of like, no, this needs to happen now. This needs to
Right.
happen now. Like we're
Yes,
we're
got
we're
you.
going under
Yeah.
soon. So by next week, I think Vinny's going to end up getting arrested.
Would that stand up in court anyway? We were investigating these chicken shops before Vinny owned them. Now he's just signed them over like last week. Unless Nish is going to have changed the dates on these contracts or something
Probably.
that he's signed.
Nish will have covered himself, I think, and
Mm. Just
Vinny's rubbish
realistically,
criminal
sure, you'd be
stuff.
like, yeah, but you were the owner when we were investigating it.
Oh, I
So
don't
just
think it's
because,
going to be that deep, to be
no.
honest. I think it's just going to be a case of Vinny. I don't think
Well, it
it's not going to
should
get to
be, Rob.
court. It's not going to get to court. We're just going to have Vinny arrested, and he's probably
Yeah.
going to get. It's more for police. They're going to take one look at that contract and think that'll do. Throw him straight in prison. They're not going to be
Or
any
Suki's
like.
going to have a plan. Eve might help get him out.
Yes,
Eve will think of all this, hopefully.
yes, there's options
Yeah.
there. But I also
Mm.
feel like this is not Nish's only punishment for them. There's going to be
No,
other
it
stuff
can't
kicking
be.
off as well,
Yeah.
especially as Nish is now clearly in his final months. He's going to
Mm.
become more and more dangerous because he's going to have less and less to lose.
Yeah.
So the Panasars are in deep doo-doo, I think. It
Agreed.
remains to be seen. So we shall see how that all plays out.
So, what about Nish's grandchildren, Avani and Nugget? Do you think they're going to get anything?
Well, let's talk about Avani for a second before we
Oh,
move on
yeah,
to
Avani we
that.
saw this week. Yeah.
Yes, Avani at the start of the week, she's got herself into a little bit of a tryst, a little bit of a relationship. Barney isn't too happy about this because he's sort of,
Bless him.
he bless him. He's a bit of a, what would you call him? Like a geek or a nerd? One of a boffin. One of them,
No,
isn't
don't
he?
call
He's
him a
sort of.
boffin. I hate that word, boffin. Like calling like being clever's a negative
It's not
thing.
a thing. It's a thing. I'm a boffin. We're
Yeah, I
EastEnders
used to get
boffins, Ree.
called it. I used to
We're
get called a
EastEnders
boffin, and I'd be
boffins.
like, well, what's wrong with that?
We're
I would
EastEnders
call
boffins.
him a stickler for the rules
Right, yes, fair enough.
in
Yes, he's a
this
stickler for the
particular
rules.
scenario.
He's certainly a stickler for the rules when it comes to guys going out with underage girls, which I feel like is fair
Fair
enough.
enough.
Fair enough. He comes across Avani snogging Mason. I think this is the same
Yes,
guy from The Crush, isn't it? So this is why
I
this guy
think
was
so, yeah.
introduced. And this is
Mhm.
why Avani was so openly flirtatious with these college kids. Now, that's one thing. I can imagine Avani doing something like that. I think this is a
Mhm.
storyline that works perfectly for Avani. This is the sort of
Yep.
thing we've sort of become accustomed to with Avani, that she is quite overly flirtatious, given her age. So this is
And
Avani,
with usually with
and
older
with
men
older
as
men,
well.
and with older men
Yeah.
as well, because I think you could probably argue some sort of daddy issues there, because she's not exactly had
Oh
a
God.
regular daddy figure in her
Perhaps, yeah.
life.
I don't even considered
If you
that,
want to
but
bring
yeah.
Freud into it, But
You're always doing that, aren't you,
always
Rob?
doing that. Any opportunity, bring Freud, bring the Freud in. So um, but what I would say is that Mason's a bit of an issue here, because Barney openly turns around to him and says, "You realise she's 15, yeah?" Mason doesn't seem too bothered about that, and he's stalking her by the end of the scene.
His
So
response is to give her a
yeah,
tinny and kiss
and
her.
what? Not scared. Huh.
Mm,
So that's going to be a thing.
yeah.
I think Ivani's now in trouble, isn't she? We're not,
Yeah.
we are yet to discover exactly where this will lead, but I suspect not good places. I wonder if this is going to go in a similar situation to the Tiff drama. With the sort
Oh,
of
what
with the
uh
Evie and
Eve?
the
Evie.
Queen Evie. I wonder if we're going to be in a similar sort of situation to that, where she's just going to get kind of pulled into a sort of dark and
Yeah,
murky
because
world.
why would an 18-year-old
Mm,
knowingly go with a 15 when someone's just
yeah,
said, oh, she's a schoolgirl, she goes to
yeah,
school with me, she's 15.
yeah,
She's wagging,
yeah.
sorry, skipping
Wagging,
school, whatever everyone
skiving.
calls
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
skiving, and then goes, all right, no problem. Like, why don't you go after someone your own age, mate? That's weird.
Mm.
He's gonna be a bad egg, this guy, isn't he?
I think so. So we shall see how that all plays
I'm
out.
here
But
for it though. It's very on brand for Avani,
it's
isn't
very
it?
on brand for Avani, and I think it's a very good story to give Avani. To be honest with
Yeah.
you, Avani reminds me of someone I used to know, and she would have done something like this all day long. So to me, this does not feel odd at all. This is
Hmm.
totally on brand for Avani, and I'm pleased that Avani's getting a story. Good for her, and this
Hmm.
inadvertently will bring Priya in for a slightly more
Yeah.
serious story as well, and possibly Nugget as well. So I'm all for this. Bring
Do
it
you
on.
know what though? Back in the day, she says, I don't know when back in the day is, but I feel like this wouldn't be that frowned upon, that kind of age gap, 18 and 15. No, back in the day is what I'm
Back in
talking.
there, yes.
So I'm wondering, will Priya be that against, or will she be like, oh, it's fine? Because Avani's very like, it's only 3 years, it's
Yeah,
fine.
I don't imagine this isn't something that Priya wouldn't do at Avani's age
This is what I
whatsoever.
mean. Yeah.
But I think it's the whole thing of like, yeah, but you're my daughter. That means that you're not allowed to do
True.
this. If you were
Do
someone
as I
else's
say, not as
daughter,
I do.
exactly. If you were someone else's daughter, I'd be like, yeah, crack on, girl. But
Yeah,
because you're
that's
my
fair.
daughter, that's wrong, and it is wrong because she's underage.
Well,
So,
yeah,
and the
totally.
show, I
Yeah,
think, probably
totally.
kind of needs to address that. Like, that's bad. All right, don't be doing
Yeah,
that. That's a bad
yeah,
thing to do.
yeah.
And I think the fact that Mason found out that she is underage and clearly didn't care is going to be something that's going to be addressed further down the line as well. So this is a bit of
Yeah.
a murky storyline in Avani's way, I feel. But
Hmm.
this is why that they've hired a slightly older actress to play Avani, I suspect. This
Of
is why.
course, now it makes
Now it
sense.
makes
Yeah, you
sense.
reckon they
There
had
we
this
go.
planned all
I
along?
reckon
There we
so.
go.
I reckon
Mm.
so. Judging by the fact that Avani, one of their first lines was, "All right, Daddy," to Marty when she just
Oh,
randomly
that's
met him.
true. Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Yeah,
So
that
this
is
was
true.
possibly always in the pipelines for Avani. So
Yeah.
we shall see
Okay.
where this goes. Right, ladies and gents, let's move on to the next story. On to Reiss now. He spends the week making posters, which he gets wrong. Sonia definitely guilty of these crimes. He sticks on a poster, which isn't terribly helpful. And he's also attempted to get signatures for his petition because if you get 10,000 signatures, it gets mentioned in the House of Commons. Can you imagine?
He's never going to
imagine,
get 10,000 sick.
imagine the
Mind
Prime
you,
Minister
come
standing
on,
up and
it'd be
talking
in the
about Sonia
papers now.
Fowler. Yeah,
You
I know.
never
Yeah, yeah.
know.
But can you imagine the Prime Minister, like Reiss sat at home watching Prime Minister's Question Times, and just like the Prime Minister stands up
There we
and starts
go.
getting questioned about Sonia Fowler from London Borough somewhere. That'd be quite fun. I'd enjoy that.
Yeah, it would be. It would be.
Once upon a
But it's not going to
time,
happen.
well, let's be fair. Once upon a time, they were talking about Deirdre Rashid and Corrie in the House of Commons. Like
Oh,
that
that's
actually was a
true.
thing. That
That's
was a
true.
thing.
Yeah,
That's
that is
that's
true.
how big soaps were at one point. That's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely
That is, isn't
ridiculous.
it?
Imagine writing to your MP about about the soap that you just watched on the telly. Can you do something about Deirdre and Corrie, please? What is wrong with you? Get a grip. Anyway, I mean, I love it, but all the same, it's a good story. And you know what? The Sun newspaper took complete and utter ownership over the fact that Deirdre had been released from prison.
Of course they
Obviously,
did.
because they plan these
Oh
things so long
God.
in
Oh
advance,
God.
because they plan these things so long in
Anyway.
advance, they like obviously she was only ever going to be in there for 3 weeks, but they decided that because they'd set this petition up, it was purely down to them that she'd been released. Ridiculous. So Reiss is kind of hoping for a similar
Yeah.
sort of outcome.
Yeah, of course.
Teddy, meanwhile, needs
Mm.
Reiss to sort of earn his keep because obviously Teddy paid off that massive debt and keep his accounts in order from this sort of weird ex that he's got going on in the
Excuse
background.
me. How much money has Teddy got?
How much money has he
He
got? What
paid
is going
he
on?
paid he paid 13 grand off
Yeah,
to buy Reese's debt. I know that
yeah,
he's expecting it back.
yeah.
2 grand he just
Two
gave him
grand.
to
Yeah,
pay Eve. And now he's saying, can you hide how much money I've got? How
yeah,
much money has he got to be just chucking it? He just bought the house. He's just bought the
yeah.
house, number one,
He's
and he's still
rich.
got money that he needs to hide.
He's a rich little teddy bear, isn't he?
What
Yeah.
is he up to there to
What
have
is
got that
Teddy?
money?
Who is Teddy? What is Teddy?
Maybe
Who
he's
is
part
this?
of the chicken shops, eh?
Yeah, maybe. Who is this ex of his as well, do we
Don't
think?
know.
Do we
Not
think
Chrissy. I'm glad
no,
I've
it's not
that's been
Chrissy. It's
ironed
definitely not
out
Chrissy.
now.
One of two things I think is going to happen.
Go on.
Either this ex of his is going to turn out to be a return,
Yeah, yeah,
or this PI friend of his that he mentions to Reiss this week.
yeah.
And imagine if that PI friend of his turns out to be David. Like that's going to mess Reiss
Interesting.
up. That'll screw Reiss up massively, won't it? Won't it?
No, surely no.
And Bianca will be back on the horizon at some point soon as well.
Mm,
So that would really make things quite
see,
messy for Reiss if
I
David turns up investigating that. I don't know why David would suddenly be a PI, but
oh
it's
Well, my brain has just gone to he's going to sort this PI out anyway.
Mm,
The PI is obviously going to discover it with Reiss, and Reiss is
yeah.
going to kill the PI
He's just
to
going to kill the
silence him.
PI. Hey, maybe,
If we're
maybe.
going down serial killer territory,
Well, I
why
hope we
not?
don't. But
It don't look like we are now, does it? We were
I don't.
convinced.
I'm not
Hmm.
sure. It's been a while. I still think Brenda is a dead woman walking.
Yeah, true. Because we
It's all
still,
going to go in a
yeah.
yeah. It's all going to go in a John Stape direction. I'm convinced of it. It's
Hmm.
all going to go in that
Well,
sort of.
then I think this PI who we've never met is a goner
You reckon? You think he's going to be the
already.
PI?
Yeah. I
Okay.
reckon the PI is definitely going to uncover the truth,
Mm.
and then Reiss is going to have to figure out how to silence them somehow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Mm.
think the PI is going to be turned out to be someone that we know.
Maybe the same PI that Anna hired that time to try and find
Oh yeah,
something.
I loved him.
Or we called Gabriel.
Yeah, he was great. Like hiding in the bushes and then sort of like looking over his shoulders and sort of sneaking away. Loved him. He was like somebody you get out of a 90s out of a 20s spy movie spoof. He was marvelous. Bring him
Yes.
back
Yeah.
full time. Absolutely. Um so whilst Reiss is sort of panicking about all that, he's also trying to hand out these petitions and put out the
Mhm.
posters. Mo, who can I say? Mo is an absolute dick all of this week, I thought. In the Bobby storyline as well, I thought she was quite unpleasant.
Yeah. And why does she not believe Sonia? Like, no, you delivered Sonia's
Delivered her
baby for her
baby.
when she was
Yeah,
16. Why are you
yeah.
suddenly hating on Sonia so much?
It's that kind of typical soap trope where someone gets
Yeah.
accused of something, and these people that have known this person for years and years and years all of a sudden think, well, obviously it must be them. That makes total sense. Yeah, yeah, and they're scum. Absolutely. Where they've got no evidence and they're just working on
Yeah.
hearsay. It's just one of those situations that's always quite frustrating to
Mm.
watch. But I mean, someone like Mo, yeah, I can imagine doesn't particularly care whether Sonia is
Mm.
guilty or innocent. It's just something fun to gossip about.
Something to
Um,
gossip around. Yeah,
yeah,
take some bets on in pub about it. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And she rings the papers up because why not? Get herself a little
Well,
bit
that's
of
what I
cash on
mean.
the side.
It felt a bit too much that Mers then decided to ring
Mm.
pay. Oh, right. You think she got money out of it?
I would have thought
Okay.
so. Yeah, I would have thought so.
Otherwise, why? Why
Because this
bother?
journalist turns up at the school. Yeah, exactly. I think it must have been that she got like 50 quid or something
Mm.
from the journalist. Because this journalist turns up and Reiss is kind of forced to give them an interview. It realizes, okay, this might work in my favor. I can sort of give some good publicity. And then the next day, this interview appears in the paper. Reiss is kind of quite pleased with it. He's like, yeah, no, this looks good. I'm quite happy with this. Just as Hugh arrives on the square, Debbie's dad, to tell Reiss that the funeral for Debbie is on Monday. And he, by the way, is absolutely convinced that Sonia murdered her.
Well, yeah, fair enough, though. The evidence does point at Sonia, doesn't it? Given the
Yeah,
fact that they were going to get some money out of it, she stopped the sale of the house. Like,
yeah.
can't really blame him for thinking it.
She's
Do
in the
you think?
papers.
Do you think Brenda will though? Do you think Brenda would believe it's Sonia? Because I feel like she'd still think it's Reiss or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, this is why I think Brenda is a dead woman
Brenda's a
walking.
goner.
Yeah, I really
Mm,
do. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Brenda is going to still think it's Reiss. I think she
yeah.
will land on that first. Hugh, I think, will sort of just go where he's told. And in fact, I was surprised that Hugh was given enough independence to actually be in these scenes on his own without Brenda this week. I was surprised that she let him do that. Maybe
Well,
she
I
didn't want to
think it was
see him.
because they needed. Don't forget, he came because he needed the body to be signed
Yes,
away. You know what I
signed
mean?
away. Yeah, signed over to them. Yeah,
Signed
yeah.
over, and it had to
Next,
be the
because
next
Reese
of
is the
kin.
next of
So
kin. Yeah,
I can imagine Hugh were like, Brenda, just let me go and get this done, right? You stay here. I'm going to go on my own and sort it.
yeah,
You don't need to get into an argument, otherwise he might not sign it over.
yes.
So I could see that being the case.
So, is anything going to come out of this funeral? It's on Monday, we're
Well,
told. So,
surely, yeah, surely. Otherwise, why mention
mm,
it at all?
mm.
Brenda, probably. Brenda's
Brenda,
going to stand up and say, Reiss, how dare you be here? You
I
obviously did
reckon.
it.
Yeah, I
Something
think
like
so.
that,
Brenda's
surely.
going to
Yeah.
kick off. Brenda's going to kick off like Aunt Sal does at funerals. Yeah,
Are we going to discover some more of Debbie and Reese's mutual friends who might go, well, actually, Debbie
maybe.
told me that, Reiss were a bad un and something else. We might uncover some secrets from before we met Reiss about Debbie.
Yeah, scratch away at their relationship a little bit for us to discover
Mm,
a little bit more. I think we might meet this PI next week, and
yes,
other
yeah,
stuff, will be kicking off next week as well. I think it's going to be quite a
mm,
big. Well, I get the feeling this might be a little bit of a big week for the Reece storyline next week. So we shall
yeah.
see. Well, if everybody makes it out alive at the end of next week, I will be surprised. That's what I would guess.
Really?
I think
Oh,
so.
that
I think
soon?
I think something monumental is going to, something quite significant may occur next week with the Reiss storyline, I suspect. We shall have to wait and see. Right, ladies and gents, quick little story before we get on to the Bobby stuff, and that is Harvey and Jean. Brief little discussion about Harvey and Jean now. Mad scenes at the start of the week, absolute insanity. Where Kathy
Weird.
wins, weird. Where
So
Kathy
weird.
wins. Why was Dermot O'Leary on EastEnders?
Well, but also kind of like, why not? Because people
Yeah,
do win radio
yeah.
competitions, I guess, but it just seemed a bit
Do you know what?
random.
It's not the maddest thing that Dermot O'Leary's ever been seen doing on TV. When Russell T Davies wrote a script called Years and Years, which was basically the show that was set you kind of went a year into the future on every single episode. At one point, he
Okay.
had Dermot O'Leary being a newsreader as himself, on BBC News, which I thought was bizarre. So for Dermot O'Leary to be on the radio handing out holidays to Greece, I thought that kind of works. But it was just surprised
Fair
me
enough.
that Dermot O'Leary himself was the voice of it. And you know why that happened was because Sharon Marshall wrote Monday's episode, and
Yes.
she works on this morning that Dermot O'Leary presents as well. So that's probably how
So
that
she
all
said,
played out.
damn it, do you fancy
Derms.
having a voiceover on EastEnders for an
Yeah,
ep? I need someone. Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Makes
nice
sense.
little cameo. Nice little cameo.
Does he even present radio at all, Dermot?
He will have done at least at one point in his career. It's
Okay.
Dermot
Right,
O'Leary. I
okay.
would have thought I don't know if he still does, but he definitely
Fair enough.
does or did at some point. Anyway, Kathy has won this trip to Greece. The only reason she knows that she wins this competition, by the way, is thanks to Barney, who has just been reading up
Yeah,
on
essentially, yeah.
who's just been reading up on DNA, which stands for yes, exactly that.
acid.
Yes, deoxyribonucleic acid. It stands for.
That's what I said. Yeah,
Didn't read
yeah.
that. I didn't read that. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. So yeah, the question basically is, what does DNA stand for? That's the answer. Barney had just been reading about it and sort of telling it to Harvey, and Harvey was aware that Kathy was entering this competition. Kathy gets through on the radio, and Harvey sat there listening to it in the taxi. The question of what does DNA stand for gets asked, and Harvey literally sprints through the square, pushes away from it, going DNA, DNA, it's DNA. So that's how Kathy wins the competition. It's quite mad. It was quite
Well,
daft,
as soon as we had that scene with Barney and Harvey talking about that being what DNA stands
Yeah.
for, like, where's that going to come up again
Why?
in this episode? It's
Yeah.
definitely coming up again, isn't it? When
Yeah.
he goes, oh, you'll never need to know that information in life. No one will ever ask you that question. Well, someone's about to ask you, Harvey,
Yeah.
in this episode.
Dermot
Clearly.
O'Leary, no less. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't think Dermot O'Leary
No,
was
I
going to be the
didn't.
denouement for the plot. I'll give you that. But
That's
yeah,
true.
there we are. But anyway, Harvey has won this holiday because Kathy gives it to him. So it's like, fair play. Thanks a lot for winning that. You should have that. I mean, by rights, Barney should probably have had it, but we're not, technically.
Yeah, but Barney wouldn't have got the first answer to do with the London streets, to be fair.
That's
which is what
true.
got him
That's
through,
true.
So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Harvey kind of has this holiday and it's sort of like, well, this is the perfect way to win Jean back, because obviously Jean is still annoyed about the whole thing that went on with Maya, or Maya, however you pronounce it. So no, I know, but that's just how I know Maya now. That's because of what Jean said. Maya, Maya, however you pronounce it.
However you pronounce it, yeah.
She's still annoyed at him, so she kind of doesn't want to go to Greece with him. So Harvey, still attempting to run around, says that, well, why don't you and Stacey go? And Jean's like, well, that sounds excellent. Yeah, okay, let's do that then. Absolutely fine. So, I mean, Jean and Harvey do kind of have conversations this week, and it sort of seems that she is going to forgive him at some point, but at the moment, he's sort of still in the doghouse. But ultimately, I think they'll be fine, right?
Why are they going on holiday to Greece, though? What is this all about? Is this just a way of us... Just that Harvey's trying to make amends to Jean, and it's a nice way of doing it.
Yeah, not everything has this really deep meaning behind it.
But I would just my thought process was, who's going to look after Stacey's, like, how many kids has she got? 4?
Oh, about 12.
And Charlie.
Yeah.
If Jean and Stacey aren't there, I know you said Martin's going to help out.
Martin will. Yeah, Martin.
Okay, fair enough.
Eve's Eve's not there anymore.
No, Eve's not there anymore.
The Slaters have got Mo's there.
Freddie. Freddie.
They've got options. Okay. There's always options to look after a child somewhere in the Slater house. So I think
there's a lot of kids there, but
there
anyway, fair enough.
Like an arc, that house. I think they'll be all right. There we are then. So we'll move on now to the big story of the week, which was Bobby, Anna, Freddie, and Cindy, and Ian. So, bye Bobby. We are at the Bobby storyline. I am gutted Bobby's gone. And I have to say, I kind of feel like there was a bit of wasted opportunity with Bobby by the end. I feel like he was a little bit underused by the time we came around to this week. I thought that the him and Cindy stuff had a lot more potential that they could have kind of wrung some drama out of, and they got some out of
True.
it. But I feel like there was more that could have been done. Really.
Yeah, true, true. Yeah, but then Cindy had to just act like she were okay with everything, didn't she? Otherwise, she'd have essentially been homeless.
Well, yeah, but can I say this week I enjoy Cindy as a character. I do. She's fun. This week is the first time I've sort of been like, I need you to be punished. I need you to have your
Oh,
like
Cindy.
comeuppance. Yeah, I really wanted her to have her comeuppance. I can't wait for the moment where the Schadenfreude hits with Cindy when that affair comes out and she gets it all thrown back in her face. I felt that she really deserved it this week with Bobby. I really did.
I absolutely loved Cindy this week.
She was evil this week.
Everything about it.
Absolute cow.
I know. It's the drama, Rob. I love
I
it.
know.
She were
I know.
brilliant. It were honestly brilliant. But yeah, like absolute evilness, especially all
Yeah.
the staring she did with Bobby and
Yeah.
Anna. And then, like, how can you do that to your own daughter?
I
But then
know.
she does feel very strong. But then, well, he did kill her other daughter.
Yeah, that little
So there's that little
detail.
thing,
That
isn't
little
there? You
detail. I
kind of
know.
get it. But I
It's
know she
kind of
was evil.
fascinating. It's kind of fascinating with Cindy. I almost kind of think that she's one of these people that will do anything in order to get true happiness for herself, and yet she doesn't know exactly what would ever make her happy. So she's sort of
Hmm.
doing this constant battle with life and the people around her, trying to get to an aim that she doesn't actually know what it is. It's kind of a
Kind
fascinating character trait in someone, I think, in
You're
a
kind of
character.
saying what Bobby said, and I'm jumping ahead a bit, but when they
Mm.
were at the grave, the headstone, whatever you want to call it, and he was
Graveyard.
saying graveyard, there we go.
Yeah, yeah.
Cemetery is what I was trying to think
Cemetery,
of.
yeah, that works too. Yeah.
And Bobby was saying to her, like, it's your own guilt that all this is. It's
Mm.
kind of what you said
It's
in a way.
interesting.
Like,
Yeah.
she's trying to figure out all these feelings that she's got, and
Mm.
she's just constantly staring with other people, isn't she? Like, kind of like you say, is that going to make her more happy?
Mm.
Making sure everyone else is under her control almost.
But even the stuff with Junior, like it's sort of still there in the background. But I don't. But I think once that gets kind of revealed, I don't think she'll be as interested in Junior anymore because she's just constantly
Nah.
she's a bit of an adrenaline junkie in
Hmm.
terms of like she needs her life to be constantly exciting. And it's like when she came back to Walford, she was pining over George, and yet we'd seen that she wasn't happy with George when she was with him. So she's
Yeah.
never truly happy with her own life, and then
Yeah.
yet
I've
would do
just thought
anything
what
to
she's going to
change it.
do.
What's she
She's
gonna
going to
do?
have an affair. She's going to have
Mm,
another affair and keep that from Junior with David when he's back so that
maybe.
she's having an affair and then
Yeah.
having an
Yeah.
affair within the affair.
It would. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'd love
Wouldn't,
that.
nothing will put it past Cindy.
No.
So obviously, previously on EastEnders, Anna has discovered that she's pregnant.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That little
And
thing.
yeah, and quite quickly it sort of becomes apparent. Yeah, I don't really want this baby. This isn't
Yeah.
great. This isn't the situation that it's supposed to be. And Gina is very rightly encouraging her. Well, it's your body. You know,
Yeah.
I will do what you want with whatever
Hmm.
support you want, whether you want to keep it or whether you want to get rid of it, whatever you need, we will make happen. So makes an appointment on the laptop, and that is then seen by Freddie, who,
Yeah.
right, where are we at with Freddie at the moment? I mean, I think I was with him until he kissed Anna, basically, because I thought I totally believed all of his utter turmoil that he was going through. Like,
Hmm.
I'm falling in love with my best mate's girlfriend, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I loved it. That was fine. I kind of believed all that, but then he kissed her, which I guess had to happen at some
Do you,
point.
Do you know where I think he overstepped the mark was going to the clinic though? Like if you're that best
Yeah,
mates with Bobby, you shouldn't
yeah,
have really done that. And I get that he weren't thinking of that in that moment. He was thinking of Anna and that she needed support.
yeah.
But for me, if you genuinely believe she needed somebody there, he should have
Mm,
probably said to Gina, "You need to go." It shouldn't have
yeah,
been him
yeah.
because that almost makes the situation seem more twisted than it
Mm,
actually was.
yeah.
Because I don't think he had ill intention in going.
No.
But then, coupled with the fact that he's secretly in love with her and then has
Mm,
gone to, offer her some support while she has a secret abortion from a boyfriend who happens to be his best friend. I
yeah.
mean,
It's a bit
maybe that
messy,
wasn't the
isn't it?
smartest move. Yeah.
A bit
I
messy.
mean, when I'm saying it, oh God, it's right messy, isn't
It's a
it?
messy situation to be in, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, but then I think I think that he felt that he was doing the right thing there. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's kind
His
of like,
intentions were good, but
yeah. I mean, Freddie isn't the brightest, bless him, but I think that
that's
he
true.
sort of he goes with his heart. He sort of goes with
Mm,
what he believes to be the best thing he can do in that
yeah.
situation. And I guess the kiss between him and Anna was always going to happen, like, but it's just that awkward moment where you're sort of watching it, thinking, "Oh, I wish you weren't doing that," because that is the kind of catalyst to how the rest of the week plays out. Because Lauren has worked something out. She's basically put two and two together. How she lands on this, I'm not entirely sure, but she realizes basically that Anna must be
Easy.
pregnant. Yeah, you reckon you would have worked it
Easily.
out? Yeah, woman
Yeah,
thing.
she'd just been asking Peter about being a young parent, and then she'd been throwing up the week before. Didn't she throw up in the cafe the week
Yeah, she did.
before?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So it's
quite
not like it
publicly.
weren't that obvious that she'd been throwing up,
Quite
and then she's asking
publicly.
about
Yeah,
being a
no,
young
fair.
parent.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
right, fair enough. I wouldn't say clearly that would have gone straight over my head. You'd have been like, "She's pregnant. She is. She's
pregnant.
pregnant.
Yeah,
Pregnant."
you would.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I'd have just been
Definitely.
like, if you say, I'd be like, "Stop riffing, Ray. Stop talking rubbish. Come on." So Bobby, with
Yeah.
armed with this information, sort of runs over to the Vic and walks in just in time to see Freddie and Anna sharing a kiss,
Hmm.
which was a moment, to be fair, because they sort of parted, and then all of a sudden Bobby is there and like watching them, and it's sort of like,
Hmm.
oh. And you can, and in, to quote The Simpsons, you can see the moment where his heart breaks into pieces, can't you? Like his
Yeah, you
face
literally can.
visibly sort of disintegrates. I
Oh,
felt
I thought of you straight away, like Rob's heart is also going to have broken now that he's
honestly,
seen Bobby like that.
bear in mind that my dog was currently lying on the floor whining about surgery. I
Oh,
was a mess this week. Emotionally, I was
yeah,
destroyed. Poor Bobby. I mean,
yeah, poor
he is
Bobby.
visibly heartbroken. His girlfriend and his best mate, who he loves more than anybody else in the world, these two, I think, genuinely. I think
Yeah, yeah.
probably more than his own family, he loves these two, and they have literally betrayed him in front of his eyes. Was there a moment where you thought we were going to get Psycho Bobby back? Because when he was attacking Freddie, and I thought, fair enough, I can understand why you're doing that, kind of punching into Freddie, but I sort of was like, oh my God, is he going to reach for like a music box or something? Like, is that where this is
So
going?
it's going to happen again in time for the
Psycho
40th. No,
Bobby's
I did.
back.
No, I didn't at all. I just thought, yeah, fair enough.
Mm,
Like considering what you've just seen and what you've just found out about her
yeah,
being pregnant and stuff, I
yeah.
think that's a fair reaction. I were more surprised. Well, not surprised, but I thought it were kind of funny in a way because Freddie's quite a lot taller than Bobby,
He
and
probably could take
I
him.
thought you
Yeah.
got some balls there, Bobby. Go on, like fair
Bobby
enough.
big
Even though I
Bobby
love
big
Freddie and I
balls.
get the situation, but.
Mm, yeah.
I think the most wrong thing about that as well is that Freddie and Anna were like bonding over the fact that she's just aborted Bobby's baby. It's like a bit more twisted in it.
Well, let me just ask this. So they did
Okay.
the termination thing, and it was one of these.
Yeah.
We've had this before in EastEnders, and I always forget how this works. So the two pills, right? You take
Yeah.
one pill, and then I think like the next day you take the next one, is it, or a couple of days later?
I'm not,
Don't.
don't know. I actually don't. I know that I know that you can take meds like Anna has, but I don't know
Yeah,
the ins and
yeah, yeah.
outs.
They did this with Whitney, and I think there was sort of question as to whether she would abort the baby or not. And I was because I was genuinely delighted to sort of see this scenario play out, where a woman kind of goes, "Yeah, I don't want to do this. This is my choice,
Yeah,
and this
yeah,
is what
yeah.
I'm going to do."
Totally.
And for it then to just play out like that, no
Hmm.
sort of changing her minds, no being put under pressure, no sort of infection that's come up that makes her infertile for the rest of her
True.
life.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah,
like
true.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
This has just been a simple, I don't want that to happen.
I'm
And
gonna
so
take a
that,
tablet
yeah, and
and
so that hasn't happened.
yeah.
He hasn't taken the
Well,
second tablet yet, which kind of always leaves that question in the air. Like, can the
yeah,
baby
I don't
survive
know
on
how
just the
long
one tablet? I don't know.
I don't know. I know that that there's like a gap in between taking it, but then they said to her that they were giving her a pregnancy test to do in 3 weeks' time. So maybe it's
Yes, to
like a
make
week in
sure.
between the tablets. I don't know.
I feel like there's not a lot of point in Anna being pregnant without Bobby there. If I
No,
said this at the
no.
time, so I think this is it. So hopefully I think that's how it's all
But
played out, and fair play to him for doing it
what
like
you've just
that.
said though as well, had she told Bobby about it, we would have had a lot of that and a lot of, her having to discuss making that decision with somebody else and
Yeah. Well, they basically had the same. Anna and Bobby basically had the exact same conversation about this as we did last week, where it was just sort of like imagining what Bobby's reaction would have been at that moment.
mm-hmm,
And even Anna said, "You would have proposed, you would have been planning the houses, you would have been doing
mm-hmm,
this, you would have been doing that." And
yeah,
Bobby's like, "No, I wouldn't." Yeah, you would, Bobby.
yeah,
You
he would
totally
have.
would. He told he would.
Yeah.
Of course he would.
Which, in a way, is a nice way to go about it, rather than forcing forcing someone to feel pressure in a different way. Of I'm not ready to be a dad either.
Yeah.
It swings. You can see both sides in this scenario, can't you?
Mm.
You can see
Yeah.
why Anna didn't want to tell Bobby, and you can
Yeah.
see why Bobby was upset that
Absolutely.
didn't tell him because it was
Difficult.
his. I don't. His embryo, can we call it? I don't
His
know. To
sperm.
be,
Yeah. His sperm. You
you
can say
know,
that, Rick. Yeah, I mean, it was an awkward situation. But you know who kind of impressed me was Ian, and I wasn't expecting to be impressed by Ian
Yeah, that's
advising Bobby
true.
this week, right?
Yeah.
When Ian kind of got grasp of the situation, I was fully expecting Ian to be sitting there going, right, okay, let me just tell you how this works, son. All right, so you go over there. You know, you're the man in the situation. You need to take control of this. All right. She might say she doesn't want the baby. She don't mean it. She don't mean it at this stage. You know, I was fully expecting to go down that path. But
Mm,
you know what? Ian was fully there saying, whatever she wants, you need to support her. All right. She
yeah.
might not want this baby. That's okay. You need to accept that. You know, it was just like, all right, Ian, wow, haven't we grown as a
Very
person?
woke for Ian, weren't
Very
it?
woke for Ian. Yeah, very democracy led
Yeah.
for Ian. I was quite impressed by that. And actually, I thought Ian did absolutely cracking all of this week
Yeah,
because
he did. Yeah.
he had a great little meltdown in the pub because Bobby, armed with the fact that Freddie's betrayed him, Anna's betrayed him, and Cindy takes full advantage of the situation and says, do you know what? Probably best if you just go. I wouldn't want to stay around with all this going on. You go. That'll be the best for you. It'll be best for Anna. Everyone will be happy. And Bobby kind of decides, well, I could go live with Jane in the Cotswolds. And Cindy's like, hey, your
Great
choice.
idea.
And it
Maybe you
sort of
should.
sorts us out. Yeah, this and I was like, Cindy, you absolute bitch. You are evil. Really, really, really evil. And Bobby kind of says this to Ian that he's going to move in with Jane. And so Ian goes into the Vic and starts having a go at Anna.
Yes.
And Freddie fires
And
Freddie from
tries to get Freddie
behind.
to leave London.
Yeah, I don't know quite how he thought that was going to work out, but I got
No.
his thinking. And had like a great moment in the Vic where it's sort of like, I'm gonna lose another kid, and nobody else knows what that feels like. Even you, Cindy, do not know what that feels like because you weren't there. And it's sort of
Mm-hmm.
like, yes, Ian, get her told because she doesn't
Mm.
know. She likes to pretend that she does and make everything about her, but she has no idea. She makes everything that's happened to the Beale kids all of her own, like emotional, like as though she's had the toughest life
Her own
ever.
grief, what in the
Yeah,
moment kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Which
she
it
owns
wasn't.
the grief, and it's nothing to do with her. There are times when I'm sort of like, how dare you even try and grieve your children because you weren't there at
Mm-hmm.
any point. In fact, if Lucy hadn't died, you wouldn't even be back in Wolford right now.
Yeah, that's true. Technical. God.
So,
Full circle there. But yeah, true.
you
True.
know,
Mm.
um, so it was interesting to sort of see Ian have that moment. And I absolutely love the fact that throughout all of this, we've had a rare piece of character growth from Ian, I think. You don't actually get that much
Mm.
growth with a character like Ian, which is fine because it's what makes Ian Ian. But we've had that rare sort of character growth from him where he has point blank refused to put Cindy over Bobby at any point. And I think that's been
Yeah, that's
excellent.
true. Yeah, I agree with that actually. And he's
Mm,
always very kind about Bobby, isn't he?
mm.
And like says what a nice, just like what a nice kid he is, really,
Yeah,
doesn't he? And
yeah.
yeah, like you say, he's never put Cindy above Bobby. I guess that's because he knows what it's like to lose his kids. He doesn't ever want to risk losing another one.
Mm,
And maybe Ian's had this revelation during this time of I'll never put a woman before my kids because
mm.
he's probably done it in the past.
Oh, God, yeah.
Let's be real. But do you
Many
know what
times.
else I liked? I know that he went in at first saying you aborted my grandchild to Anna.
Mm.
But then it weren't so much
He's not
about
angry about
that
that, is he?
anyway. It
Yeah,
was
no.
about the Freddie and Anna situation that the
Mm.
anger's come from in
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
entire thing. I don't think anyone's really disagreed with the decision that Anna made.
No, not really.
And I think the fact that she didn't tell Bobby shows more about Bobby and Anna's relationship
Yeah,
wasn't really working.
of course it does. Yeah, and like you say, I think that's a great point that Ian wasn't. He uses it
No,
as a bit of an attack line, but
at
that's not what he's
first.
angry about
No.
whatsoever. It's a good thing to say at that particular moment while you're having a go
Yeah.
at the girl in front of you, but it's not really the point of
Mm.
the conversation. Um, And I'm pleased that Freddie spent the rest of the week absolutely devastated by his own behaviour. It'd be sort of interesting to
Bless
sort of see
him.
where that goes from here. Like, sort of, what's he going to be like without Bobby?
And nice that he were more upset about his friendship with
They were,
Bobby
yeah, yeah, that was
than
nice as
even
well.
thinking about trying to do anything with Anna. He weren't even thinking about it, were he?
Yeah,
By
yeah.
that point, it were I can't believe I've upset my best mate.
Just
And
going
now
home.
that's it.
Those drawings are getting torn up and thrown in the bin, like they're all
Maybe
gone.
set on
Yeah,
fire in the
yeah,
kitchen
ripped up.
sink.
Absolutely. Yes.
Mm,
Um, So we finally have that sort of moment where Bobby has decided to go to the Cotswolds. He has
yes.
decided that's enough. I'm done. I'm out of here. Goes to the cemetery to sort of say goodbye to Lucy. And I think this is the key thing with Bobby. And this is the key point of Bobby's story that
Yeah.
he And Jane sort of touched on it when we last saw her, that he's never forgiven himself for what happened to Lucy. That was when he was a kid. He has changed a lot as a person since then. He's grown a lot as a person since then. He is not that person anymore. And he needs to stop sort of being haunted by the memories of something that he did when he was a child. So
Mhm.
he kind of goes to the cemetery and realizes the only way that he's ever going to do that is to sort of leave all of that behind. Cindy insists on going as well. I don't know why Cindy, because she just wants to keep attacking Bobby. That's all this is. It's just anger from Cindy's part. And Bobby sort of rips her a new one there and then. Not enough, I would argue. I think he could have gone in much worse, but what more
Yeah,
could he
but
have
that's
said?
it were enough for Bobby though. Bobby's not that kind of guy
No, I
to go
know.
any further, really. But no, I agree. I was so happy that he stood up for
Yeah,
himself.
so was I.
And
Yeah.
it were a perfect scene actually. And this is why I said when we started this episode where I was saying, you know, it kind of made sense for Bobby to leave by the time this scene's finished. It's like,
Mm,
how is he ever going to move on? He's got constant reminders of Lucy there.
yeah.
It's where it happened. He is known as the kid who killed his sister
Yeah.
whilst he's
And
there.
always will be
He
in
can,
Walford as well. Yeah.
yeah, he can start afresh in the Cotswolds, can't he? Nobody
Yeah.
knows him other than
Yeah.
Jane and Masood, who we think's there as
Masood,
well.
yes, yes, bear that in mind. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, when you've got someone like Mo going around like making caustic comments and really
Yeah.
unkind comments about like what happened with Lucy, like that's
Mm,
always going to be there. So yeah, you're right. To get away from Walford, I think was probably the best thing for his mental health and for him to
mm,
grow as a human being from there.
yeah.
And I think losing Freddie and Anna is the sort of enough to kick him up the ice and go, enough, I'm out of
Yeah.
here. See you later.
Yeah.
I'm done. So the end of the week, nice one last night. Shot of Jane. Jane came back into Walford. I was quite pleased to sort of see Jane back in Albert
Yeah.
Square.
Yeah.
He says goodbye to everybody, hugs them. Cindy sort of watching from the darkness, sort of smugly. Nice little jibes between Cindy and Jane just before she
Nice
left.
cardigan. I love Cindy. I'm sorry. I
I
know
know
she's
you do.
evil,
She's a
but
great
she's
character.
brilliant.
No, she is a great character, and but it's to the point. This week was the first time I was sort of like, oh, I can't wait for you to fall flat
I
on
know
your
what you mean.
face. Because sometimes with the soap bitch, you're sort of just like, yeah, go on, Queen, keep doing all this stuff. But
Yeah,
like
keep going.
this
Your time's
week,
coming.
yeah,
Your time's
when you
coming,
go for
Cindy. Don't
Bobby,
you worry.
I was sort of like, oh, bitch, you're going down.
She is going to be on her own as well when it all kicks off. Because I think when it does kick off, even Junior's going to shun her at
Yeah,
some point for something, which is why I'm wondering,
yeah.
is she going to have an affair on Junior as well?
He's going to choose his dad over Cindy for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll ultimately end like that as well.
Yeah, because I
Because
think
his
you had a great.
sisters are involved as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you had a great bit of insight last week. We were saying I think those two are just going to like get closer and closer and closer
Yeah.
to the point where the reveal is going to hurt 10 times more because George is going to be like, I thought we were getting closer for you. But I think that's going to be the point where George will ultimately be the one to win Junior's heart over Cindy 100%.
Yeah.
And it's going to leave Cindy completely and utterly out in the cold. And she will blame everybody else. Everybody
Literally.
else. Yeah.
Oh, just
Everybody
wait
else.
until Kathy finds out.
Oh, I can't wait till Kathy finds out. There was that great moment in the kitchen between Cindy and then Kathy this week, where Kathy just had a great rant at Cindy, decided to just bring up the affair that she had 30 years ago, had nothing to do with the situation, but sort of pointed out that clearly the apple hasn't fallen far from the tree as far as Anna was concerned and
Bit
cheating on
harsh, but
somebody.
yeah.
It was brilliant. I like that a lot. So yeah, Kathy, I cannot wait to see her find out about the
Mm,
junior thing. If anything, I'm most excited about her reaction because it's going to be
mm.
really, really satisfying. No Julia's theme for Bobby, which I thought was a bit poor
Yeah,
show. I would have liked to have seen one with
which,
Bobby. Deserved one.
well, I think that means he's going to come back then, surely, right? If it's
Well,
not had a Julius theme, it can't
yeah,
be fully over,
no,
right?
because if Karen can have one and then come back 2 weeks later, Bobby certainly can.
But Bobby should have had one. He
Bobby
like
should have had one.
100% should have had one.
Because I think
Because,
actually, once you have reached that point of like his story kind of hit a full circle at that point
mm,
in many ways. I would have liked it to have
yeah,
gone on a lot longer. I have to say, I think this week is sort of like this week was what it was, but I would have like
crammed into
I
one
loved
week.
I loved Bobby, so I would have liked. I wanted more of the Cindy and Bobby dynamic. I think
Mm,
their relationship could have been really interesting, like spread out over a long period of time. When you lose one of the actors, you can't do a lot about that, so it's not exactly
no,
anybody's fault, but it kind of happens that way. Um, so yeah, I think one day Bobby might be back. I really hope he is. I obviously wish Play Milner Russell all the luck in the world, and yet not that much luck, so that he has to come back to EastEnders one
exactly.
day. Yeah.
But do you think Jane might be back for the 40th and with
Maybe,
Masood? Because why did
maybe.
Masood get mentioned? Just so that we can
Mm,
see that Bobby's gonna, have a better time, so to speak. He's got a
well,
fellow
maybe.
Muslim there because that was
I don't know.
obviously.
Would you want to live with the man that slept with both your gran and your mum? I think that'd be a bit weird.
Oh, I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah,
Well, you know what? It's Albert Square. I
yeah.
mean, Bobby's
Pretty
with
much
his brother's
incestuous, isn't it?
sister, so
Yeah,
you know what I
that's true.
mean? Does it
That's true.
really
Yeah,
matter
Bobby's
in
going to be like,
grand
yeah,
scheme
fair
of
play. I
things?
understand that. We're a fit family. I understand.
See?
There you
Don't
go.
blame you.
No, gold star this week, Ree.
Oh, well, I know who well,
Who are you going to
Bobby's
give
got to be
yours to?
one of them.
Yeah, surely.
But
Who
so
give you?
I'm gonna give mine to Ian, actually.
That's exactly what I was going to do if you'd have said Bobby. Bobby and
There we
Ian
go.
for the gold stars this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ian had a great week. Really, really
Surprised
enjoyed
me,
Ian
Ian,
this
yeah,
week. Yeah,
yeah.
this is more of Ian actually.
Still had some Ian moments in
Yeah,
there, but
of
on the
course he did. Of
whole,
course he
yeah.
did. But it's just every time I see Ian back on screen at the moment, I'm just so glad that he's back.
And he's always got Bobby's back
Yeah,
since he's been back. He's had Bobby's back, so yeah,
yeah.
Ian.
I just
Ian and
want
Bobby.
more Ian. Actually, I think
Agreed,
obviously,
yeah.
I think we've pretty much decided that the Cindy. We don't know, but I think we're pretty much decided that the Cindy Junior thing is going to be Christmas, right? So I
We
think that
think.
I think so. I think the Bills are going to have quite a big Christmas. So Ian's going to be on it quite a bit over the coming months. So that's good.
Is it going to be that and the Panasar stuff coming to a
I
head
think
as
so.
well at
Yeah, yeah.
Christmas? Could it be both?
I think the Panasars and the Bills are going to be for Christmas.
Mm.
After that, in the run up to the anniversary, who
We
bloody
still don't
knows?
know.
Still don't know. Still don't know. Right, ladies and gents, Bobby and Ian for the Gold Stars, and we'll finish our podcast as usual with some comments from you.
So I've got a comment on Instagram from Sarah Foster who says, I'm so glad Bobby got to leave on his own terms and to finally stand up for himself. But I was sad he didn't make up with Freddie and gutted he didn't get a Julia's theme.
Yeah, so I think that's something I was most upset about. I was like, where's the piano? Thank you.
Yeah.
Someone did an edit online that worked really, really well with the music as well. So it's up there on Twitter if you want to find it. Someone has edited a Julia theme into
So we
Bobby's
can have
exit.
our closure.
Yes, we
Yeah.
need our closure.
It just makes me think he's coming back soon
Yeah,
because
I
he's
hope
not had
so.
a Julia's
I
theme.
really, really hope so. If anything, you're the one that's caused this because you were sat there like, does nothing, does Julia's theme mean nothing these days? When Karen came back a few weeks later, so maybe they've taken that on board.
Do you reckon they have to have been in it for like a certain amount of years, like continuously, for him to then go, now you get a Julia's theme?
Maybe you have to, but I would have thought that Bobby, like being a legacy character, would have, and like the fact
Yeah,
that he's quite a well-known character,
true.
I think he would have earned one. I think it would have been appropriate for him to have one. But I suppose not everybody can have one. But
That's what I
I think
mean.
it would
Is
have
it?
suited. I think he would have deserved one myself. But
Hmm.
what do I know? Albert Sims. Here's a nice bit of trivia for us. I thought this was very
Oh.
interesting. Albert Sims, first of all, asked, "I've often been curious. Does the studio have a plot of land set up to look like a cemetery, or do they use an actual existing cemetery and just add a prop headstone while shooting?" And Charlie Edge has replied to that and said, large scenes are filmed in a cemetery in Watford. Smaller scenes are filmed in a little grass patch on the set. Oh, that's quite good. Nice
Oh,
bit of
there we
trivia
go.
there. Obviously, I knew that. Obviously.
I was wondering this though
I
when they were
didn't know
filming
that.
it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like I kind of assumed that they'd sort of got a field or something, and then they have like a load of tombstones that they sort of wheel out to make it look like a
Yeah.
graveyard. Just stick them in the ground, then take them all
God,
the
that'd
way
be
again.
expensive. They're expensive, aren't they, headstones and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
imagine
Not
they're made out
tombs.
of.
Oh,
No, I
God.
imagine they're made out of like polystyrene or something and just painted to look like marble. You can do anything with like if you're a clever props person these days, can't you?
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
true. We've got a comment from Luke Gahan who said, did anyone else notice Blondie Atomic playing in the background when Anna was chatting to Freddie? My husband walked past the TV and picked it up and was like, oh dear, whatever's going on here is about to explode. That's why they're playing that song. I think he may be right.
Surprised you didn't
Well
notice that, Ree.
spotted.
DJ Riesler. You
I
will normally notice this sort of thing, don't you?
I always usually spot songs in the background. I did not
Yeah.
spot that. But what I did spot this
Yes.
week was a
Yes.
scene with Bobby and Freddie when
Yes.
Freddie had just found out about Anna being pregnant or not
Okay.
long known, and Daddy Cool was playing in the background, which I
Oh,
thought was quite
nice.
fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that. But
I
yeah,
never noticed that. The only time I ever register the music in the background is if a song comes on that I like, and I'm just and then I pay more attention to the song because I'm just sort of just going dancing along to the song in the background, disregarding everything that goes on in the scene. Normally, Respect by Erasure. I always listen when that comes on because I love that song. That sometimes comes on in the Vic,
yeah,
and I'm all and I'm off.
yeah.
So whatever is going on screen, I'm just sort of like, baby, please give me a little wrist, just having a great time on the sofa.
The Vic ones are more noticeable when it's to do with
Yes.
the scene,
Yeah, very
definitely.
often they are. Yeah,
But so often, whatever song's playing in the background has got something to do
it's
with the scene that's
relevant.
going on.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
love that job. I'd absolutely love
yeah,
that job of pick
yeah,
the song to go in the background of this scene. I'd be
yeah.
there.
You'd be
I'd be
there, wouldn't
there
you?
all
Yeah,
day.
you'd be
I'm
very good
waiting
at
we've
that.
not had Fleetwood Mac tell me sweet little lie. I
Mm,
love it when that's in
yeah.
background. Like, yeah, we know what's going
Yeah,
on.
you'd be very, very good at that job. Right, that's it then for another week. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. If you'd like to send us any comments, questions, or feedback, you can do the following.
You can find us on Facebook at Albert Square After Dark, on X and Instagram at E20 After Dark. If
Wrong.
you're watching on YouTube, don't forget
Twitter.
to like and subscribe. You can listen to us on Apple and all your favourite podcast sites. Drop us an email at e20afterdarkpodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to buy us a coffee, you can do so by going on buymeacoffee.com/E20 After Dark.
Twitter. Yes, you can.
And
Thank
don't
you very
forget
much.
to go on X because Rob's all over X. He loves a bit of X, don't you?
X. There's no such thing as X. It's a letter. That's all it is. X. Ugh, awful name. And don't forget, you can also leave us a review if you like. If you're listening on Apple
Of course.
Podcasts, go and stick a
Yeah.
review on there. That'd be nice. Just give us your thoughts on there. Only if they're good minds, you know. If you
Oh yeah, don't leave us a bad review.
you've
Don't
got
bother
nothing
doing
nice to say,
that.
keep it to yourself. You've got
Just
nothing
give us
nice to
5.
say.
If you want to give us 5 stars, do that.
That's how it
Okay.
works. Yeah, that's how consumer feedback works. Only tell us if it's good. Yeah. Right. Okay, that's it, ladies and gents. Thank you very much. We'll be back same time next week. I suspect the Reiss stuff is going to kick off big time next week. It's just a feeling. I know nothing. It's just a feeling. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
See you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.